Hi, and welcome to Ask Lois, the Relatable Therapist. My name is Lois Godot, and thank you so much for joining me on this video. Let me do my disclaimer right quick because I really want to jump right into this. This YouTube video is all about helping family dynamics, helping you have positive family dynamics. The disclaimer, this video is protected under the Fair Use Act of 1976, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, and allowances is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. So normally I usually do my videos like midweek, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, but today I wanted to just jump on because I saw something and I said I just really want to make a comment on that. And so Carlos King, he does what's called the crossover show. He has his two shows, which is the Bell Collective and Merit to Medicine. He may have someone on there and they're kind of talking and just chatting it up and talking about the show. Well, he just did one with Stormy, and she's from Love and Marriage Huntsville, and Latrice, she's from the Bell Collective. And they're sitting there and they're talking, and I thought it was a wonderful conversation. Let me put the people up that we're talking about. And there's Stormy there in the pink, well, the darker pink, and then there's Latrice over there on the left-hand side. And so they were talking, and I thought it was a wonderful conversation until they started talking about Latrice's husband. Latrice asked her, does she feel that her and her husband's relationship is balanced? Latrice asked Stormy, where's their relationship balanced? This is toward the end of the show. And Stormy said that her husband, whose name is Courtney, he knows his wife that is not his child. And so then she starts to describe how that their relationship is more balanced and how she tries to give him respect and how he gives her respect. And as I was listening to that, I thought about, because Latrice said that one of the things that she noticed with her castmates was that she feels that they're jealous and that they were talking about her husband. And the thing that got me was that they weren't really talking about her husband. What they were trying to do is show her that how her husband was treating her was very controlling. Now, the incident that I'm talking about, and I did do a video on that, and I think I'll put it up here at the end of this this particular video. And her husband, they were out at a bar, and she hadn't told him that she was going out to the bar, and he came and stormed in. Now, mind you, he knows they're on a television show, a reality show. Thousands and thousands of people are watching, and he gets in there and he grabs her by her arm. He calls her the B word, and he's screaming and yelling at her, and he says he doesn't care if cameras are watching. He doesn't care about that. And my thought was, why would you get on TV and you know that people are watching you and this is how you act? And the reason why is because he's used to doing this. He didn't see anything wrong with it because he was upset how her friend, I think his name was Josh, what he had said. And so you're so upset that you get out in public and you embarrass her and you yell at the cameraman and you say all kind of hurtful things to her. And Latrice was upset too, because afterwards she didn't go to the house. She said she went to her brother's house because she was so upset. And so I was thinking, and then she talked about it for a couple of the episodes of how he treats her and how he's controlling her and how he treats her like she's his child. But then as we're sitting down here listening to her, and she's just like explaining away like it's no big deal and acting like it's okay. And that just reminds me of when people are in emotional abusive or physically abusive relationships, sometimes it becomes normal to them. And she says things like, well, you know, we've been together 8 years. Well, we've been married 8 years and we've been together a total of 13 years, as if because she's been there together that long, that means that she's not in an abusive relationship. That means he's not controlling. And she'll say things like, well, I know he's a little controlling. No, he's a lot controlling. When I saw that episode, my heart cringed for her because I was thinking, if he's doing this in public, what is he doing behind closed doors? And that's all her friend Josh was saying to her is like the way he saw him disrespecting her, it bothered him. And as a friend, I would think that that's something that you would tell your friend that probably just doesn't see it, that, you know what, this is not okay what he's saying to you. And so Latrice was acting like, oh, it was just that incident. But no, in season 2, when he wanted her to have a baby, he was saying some hurtful things to her. And it's like he just didn't care what he says to her. And he'll say things to her, you don't think, you just make all kinds of decisions. And again, you're on national TV. You're not behind closed doors. And she even made a reference to, well, I've called him a bitch before. Not on TV, you didn't. And you better not call him it on TV because his wrath will come out. Maybe you've called him behind closed doors, but you certainly haven't disrespected him out in public. And even when he was berating her and talking with her, she didn't come back and say anything negative to him. As a matter of fact, the particular incident we're talking about, when they were at the bar, she was telling Josh and the other people, shh, be quiet. I don't want him to hear. I don't want to upset him, because she knew that he was going to act up, that he was going to clown, that he was going to say things. And he's sitting there just watching her, and she can't even say anything. And so she reminds me of somebody that is in an emotionally abusive relationship, because of the fact that after all of this happens, now she explains it away like, this is normal. Like, people do have problems in their relationships. You're absolutely right. There is no perfect relationship. But because of the fact that you keep saying how long you've been together, this should be resolved. This should be resolved by now. He should not continue to be treating you like this in public. And I know when Stormy asked her, she said, well, how did you feel about that? And I know it sounded like she tried to make Latrice feel good, because she's like, you know what? Sometimes just because a person says something, that doesn't mean that's the totality of who they are. I think what she's trying to say is that at that moment doesn't define who they are completely all the time. But in this case, it probably does define him. He even tells Glenn, one of her castmates' husband, about how he has Latrice in line, about the type of wife that he should have like Latrice, like she's just so docile and she doesn't say anything. I mean, what he really wants is someone that he can control. But the issue is, you married someone that's a self-made businesswoman. And the type of woman that he wants, because he's much older than her, she's in her 30s, he's in his 50s. I think he's like 21 or 22 years older than her. He wants a different type of woman than she is. And so she's a business-minded woman, and she's very intelligent, and she has her business together. He wants someone that needs him. And she doesn't need him in that type of way. As I was watching this, I was thinking that a lot of times it's hard for people to acknowledge that abuse is going on for three reasons. One, it's hard for them to acknowledge that this is really happening. Can't believe that this is really happening. And there's shame, because I can't believe this is really happening to me, and there's shame. Another reason is they'll say, well, it's really not that bad. And they'll try to find ways to make it okay. Another reason why it's hard to acknowledge is because they feel like if I don't acknowledge it, it will go away. Now, it seems like Latrice is in the last two, like she normalizes it and says, oh, it's not that bad. Or if I don't acknowledge it, it'll go away. So she focuses herself on her business and other things. And I really was quite surprised in latter episodes when it's like she didn't talk about it anymore. And even in this Carlos King crossover show, she said, we talked about it and I let him know how I felt and he let me know how he felt. That's kind of hard to believe, because even when they would sit down at the table, he wouldn't let her talk. He wouldn't let her say anything. He was doing all the talking. And when she said something, he downplayed it. He acted like what she's saying wasn't intelligent. But all of a sudden, you want us to believe that when you guys get behind closed doors, he becomes this total loving, understanding, compassionate, empathetic individual. And so the reason why I'm saying this is because I know a lot of young women follow these reality shows. And I don't want them thinking that it's okay. It's not okay the way her husband treats her. It is absolutely not okay. It's not okay that he gaslights her and makes her think that what she's thinking is not really what's going on. It's not okay for him to want to keep her away from her family or away from her friends that's trying to tell her the truth. He wants to keep them away, because if she doesn't hear what they're saying, then he can continue to control her. That's not okay for him to call her out of her name and to embarrass her. That's not okay. That's not okay. And so I wanted to just jump on and say, hey, if that's something that you're dealing with, that's not okay. Even though Latrice is saying that, hey, people are going through relationships, and that's true. But if you're in a relationship with someone that's controlling, because she's even said, I know he's controlling. Well, are you okay with that? Are you okay with that he's controlling? Or do you guys need to go and talk to someone so you can rectify that? And so I just left away from watching that and thinking that this is not good for other people to think that it's okay the way he treats her. Now, I'm pretty sure that there is a loving side to him. Of course there is, because she probably wouldn't be with him if he wasn't. But when she says things like, well, you know what? It wasn't that bad. It was awful. And she needs to go back and read and look at that. It was horrible. Him grabbing on her, him calling her out of her name, him yelling at her in public, her to say anything else because he was sitting across and watching her. And I felt bad for her. And she was uncomfortable. In several more episodes, she was uncomfortable. Then all of a sudden, everything became okay. And she's just moving along. But the issue is, if you don't resolve things, it's going to come around again. It's going to come around again. And I just hope she doesn't get okay with normalizing the emotional abuse that he's putting on her. And I saw him pull her, so that's physical abuse. I don't know if he's constantly doing that, but I would hate for her to just settle for that because she talks about where she came from. And sometimes people, when they come from not having a lot, they don't want to lose what they have. So they compromise. So they say, you know what, I can put up with this in order for me to get that. And I just hope that's not the case with her. But other than that, I love the crossover show. I think Carlos Clean, I think he's a genius. He's a genius for how he's coming up with all of these shows. But that piece right there, I said, I need to say something about it. I need to comment on that. And I would love your comments. I would love, some of your input. Put it down in the comments below. Let me know how you feel about what was said. Here's another video I did on Latrice and her husband's relationship. And go ahead and look at it and tell me what you think. All right, talk to you later.